Tim Shea, Director of Technology Alliances here at Tufin, and I'm joined today by Steve Sharman. Now, I think of Steve Sharman as sort of the god of Cisco ACI Automation, not just in Europe, but on a global basis. But I'm sure Steve has a more specific title than that, don't you, Steve?
Yeah, so I'm actually a TSA, so Technical Solutions Architect. I work for the worldwide team. So my team is predominantly based in the US because it's a US organization, right? But I'm based over in Europe, and my focus for probably the last 5, 6, 7, I've lost track now, years, has always been sort of ACI, and more specifically over the last 2 or 3 years, it's been about how customers can get the most out of that product by using automation. Just like if they go into a public cloud, they can do the same kind of things on-prem using the automation tools against our fabric. And that's really been my focus area.
And Steve, you've been very helpful with our R&D team in terms of crafting our strategy around automation for ACI. Maybe we could talk a little bit about, your experience with customers and what their best practices for automation in the ACI environment are.
Sure. Yeah, I guess the starting point for me is that there's a plethora of tools out there. There's many different tools, and kind of across the board, customers are really converging on tools that we also use in the public cloud. So they'll converge on the likes of Ansible and the likes of Terraform. So there's specific tools that they've kind of converged on, and I think really the uptake of those tools is kind of taken off because you can just run it on your laptop. You can build things on your laptop. You can test. You can kind of get used to how it works. And then you can kind of promote that into real enterprise platform. So certainly with Ansible, for example, you can then push that into what's called Ansible Tower, which is like a front-end platform that can link out to other tools such as ServiceNow. So for us, I try really hard not to promote a specific tool to use and just say, you've got lots of tools. But the industry itself is really centered very much at the moment on Ansible and Terraform. They're the two tools that I certainly see customers using all the time.
Right. I remember from your Cisco Live in Barcelona presentation, you listed a number of tools, but it did seem like Ansible and Terraform were the two primary tool sets that customers were embracing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can obviously, they're commercially supported. You can buy tools from many different vendors, ourselves included. We have our own automation tools. Right. But I think as a vendor, and certainly from my perspective, it's important to be quite agnostic, because at the end of the day, customers buy the infrastructure. They want to consume it in the way they want to consume it. There's no point in really saying to a customer, you must use this tool, because if their skill sets are somewhere else, they're going to push back on that. They're not going to use it. So we need to be as open as possible.
Right, and that's one of the features, I guess, of Ansible, is the fact that customers generally have a skill base around Ansible, just because it's been around for a long time. It's so prevalent in the marketplace.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's not just across ACI from our perspective. It works across all the Nexus switches and the whole range of products that we've got. So it's very open and it's very well adopted by many customers.
And Steve, when you look at automation for ACI customers, what percent of customers are actually using some level of automation in their environments?
That's a really good question. So I would say everyone, right? So everyone is using some type of automation. It depends really on how detailed they want to go with the automation. So if I give you an example, you could use a tool such as Postman. Postman lets you just push in attributes into an ACI platform, and it will go and configure the network. It's automation, but kind of automation 101. It's not really what customers actually want to achieve. So typically they want to have a business purpose. Why do I want to do something? So it could be, I don't know, it could be configure some switch ports, it could be add some security rules, it could be lots of different things. So automation really becomes more useful when you've got a bit of a closed loop. So I start off, here's my business thing that I want to achieve, configure a port, add security rules between EPGs, for example, to allow communication on the fabric. How do we do that? Okay, well, we run a simple job, in this case it could be a simple Ansible job, to take a very small amount of parameters and then just go and do that work for you. And actually then you would feed that back, and then really what you want to do is expose that into other tools. So you'd expose that up into a service catalog, and that's when it becomes more interesting. That's when you can make the network a a self-service resource like a public cloud. Because honestly, who wants to ring up the network engineer and say, can I have a firewall change or can I have a switch port enabled or something like that? If you can do it yourself, then do it yourself. That's my view.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Steve, thank you very much for your time today. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Not a problem at all. Great to catch up.